Okay, so I invite you, and then I give you party lead. And then in the replays tab, whichever ones you've saved for yourself, you click watch with others, and that'll put us in a lobby.
All right.
Accept. So don't worry too much about understanding exactly everything I say and expecting to remember it. I'm typing all this up for you.
Okay.
So you'll have some take-home notes. So right-click me in the lobby, Neuro root, and then promote to lobby host. Sweet. That allows me to pause, speed up, slow down.
Copy.
Cool. So well met. Gonna see your Protoss versus Terran. So the thing that I'll be able to help you with here is seeing where your fundamentals are and which fundamentals would benefit you the most to focus on. Because going from like gold to diamond, for example, is mostly learning how to use your race in StarCraft to just build more stuff than the opponent.
Right.
There's a lot of scary stuff that can happen in terms of timing attacks and whatnot, but in the phases of the game where no one's actively fighting, it's kind of like a race to just build as much supply as you can. And the main difference between a gold player and a diamond player is at like 5 minutes and 10 minutes into the game, the diamond player just has way more stuff. So the key thing for Protoss, this is kind of like injects for Zerg, is chrono boost. Chrono boost as a Protoss player dictates what your emphasis is in the game. So you're deciding, am I going to emphasize growing my economy, where I want to get more money so I can afford more stuff, or do I want to rush out some units? We'll kind of see what your preferred approach is here in the game, because
It's definitely economic.
Okay, so if it is, I would probably recommend, as soon as your pylon finishes, hit your Nexus with Chrono Boost for probes.
Okay.
Because as Protoss, you can get 2 base saturation faster than both Terran and Zerg. That's one of the advantages of Protoss. So Chrono Boost, we'll just do a section on this. Chrono Nexus after first pylon finishes. You're trying to rush out those probes. Probe production is kind of like your gas pedal for power moving forward. You really want to create that edge of just having a ton of them, because the more probes you have, the more work is being done, the more money you have to spend on more units. It makes you really flexible and dangerous. So we're imagining we're chrono boosting the Nexus, and we want to keep it pretty low. I know a lot of times when people play games, they feel like they want to keep something in case they'll need it later. But StarCraft is a game about building edges, and if you're trying to be a good macro player, the most reliable edge you can get for yourself is a worker lead. Just having 1 or 2 more workers than the opponent, you're making more use of the map, and you're getting ahead. Probe Scout is great. I see that.
It's super basic, though. All I'm really looking for are the perks in his base. You know, it's like real level 0 stuff.
Yeah. That's good, though. Do you know about mineral walking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with that, you could have escaped from the SCVs. It's not going to be a massive mistake at this level to lose the first worker. You shouldn't beat yourself up about it, but you can escape there. If you're pathing your probe around, you could just click it to a mineral patch, and then you walk through those workers, and you end up getting ahead.
Okay.
Your supply management has been good so far. I haven't seen you get supply blocked. You have your 20 pylon
Not
coming
too
up.
bad early. I'm sure there will be some, though.
Yeah. Well, usually the mistakes start coming out whenever the opponent is attacking you, and you get distracted trying to continue to macro up and defend at the same time. So the next question I kind of have for your ZVT is, what is your preferred tech path?
I actually use the same opener for all 3 matchups, which is Robo, Twilight Robo.
Cool.
It's actually Pig's beginner build.
Nice. So right here we're looking at 30 probes, just as an example, if you had been chrono boosting probes from the beginning, you'd probably have closer to 35 to 38.
So I should dump all chrono into probes throughout this whole sequence.
Unless you're against an aggressive Terran. So
Sure,
here,
okay.
you're seeing a guy who is happy to take his own base and make Marines. But if there were, say, Reapers or Cyclones or Marines that were attacking you, then you would want to maybe chrono boost your gateway and then chrono boost your cyber core for your warp gate. Those are like your defensive chrono boosts. If you're looking for just a macro lead and the game is pretty quiet, chrono boosting probes is going to be your best bet.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll add that too. So if opponent is attacking, chrono gates and warp gate research. And then also your Robo. Robo units are good. Robo and Twilight is good. Making your Adepts. I think the Adept is a really good unit to learn with. It's pretty well rounded. It's fast on the map. It can deal damage. It can fight stuff directly.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not using it very efficiently, but...
Yeah, but really the the micro of your units and stuff isn't something that is as big an advantage as people think it is.
Right.
Especially at this level. I really like that you just keep making probes. This ends up being a really good time to take your third base, because now you're losing some efficiency on your expansion. Because
Yeah, I look for like 515, 530.
Uh-huh.
That's usually what I'm shooting for. I rarely get it, but that is what I'm shooting for.
Cool. Yeah, I would say probably around 5 minutes to 5:15, so making that a little bit sharper, because if you are chrono boosting your probes more, you're going
That'll
to
come quicker.
Yeah, you're going to need that a little bit earlier. And one thing to go
Add
ahead.
natural saturation?
Maybe a little bit after. It's a little bit dependent on the game state, but one thing that is important to consider with your thought process is a Nexus is a pretty big target, and it's hard for your opponent to take it down. Like, it has 2,000 hit points at full HP with full shields. So you shouldn't really be scared to take a third base. It's a big decision that creates a big object on the map. So that's kind of its own point of contention, that you should feel confident and assertive with taking a base, rather than a lot of players, especially at this level, feel like taking a third is a really risky proposition, where it ends up being one of the fastest ways to move up in leagues is by taking a really decisive and confident third base. You're taking your gases after your saturation. I think the Robo should be making units constantly.
Yeah, I screw that up a lot.
Yeah, I would probably recommend putting that on a hotkey. So if we can take a really quick
It
pass.
should be on 6.
Should be on 6? Okay. So
Yeah,
we
just
have,
it currently isn't. I have made an error, but normally it's on 6.
cool. So 1, you have army, and then you have bases on 4. 5 is your warp gates.
Yes, sir.
You know how to just warp in units without selecting the warp gates, right?
Without doing what?
So warping in has its own unique mechanic that doesn't require you to actually select the gateways. I'm going to walk you through this real fast. Menu options, hotkeys, and then you're going to go to global, not Protoss, which is kind of confusing.
Okay.
Then unit management.
Okay.
You see warp in at the top?
I do.
All you have to do is press that button, and then it'll automatically select all of your warp gates. So you don't need to spend a control group on that. You can have 8 gateways, you can have however many, but they have to be in the warp gate mode. But you can just press that button and then warp in, and that saves you a control group. So I don't know what button you have that bound to, but I would recommend setting that up.
All right.
Okay, so you've got warp in hotkey set up, and then that saves you the warp gate control group. So 5 is effectively free now for something else, because you kind of think about your keyboard as a resource, right, with limited space, and you want to save as much space as you can.
Right now I'm on the grid.
Uh-huh.
So it's bound to Y, and should I learn to use Y, or is Y a little weird?
It depends on how big your hand is. If Y is a key that's easy for you to reach, then that's fine.
Okay.
Because I would guess that for 5, it's about equivalent.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit harder to reach, but kind of depends. Cool. So that's pretty important mechanic for Protoss, considering the warp in mechanic. So we did chrono boost, warping in. And then what are you using for your 2 and 3 hotkeys?
2 is the prism, 3 is always empty.
Okay.
I guess if I need to throw a random, like, small group of units, but that's very rare. I usually am not that useful with my APM.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I really like having the prism on a hotkey. The 3, you could potentially use for an observer if you wanted to. But one thing, if we're looking at optimizing your growth up in leagues, scouting right now isn't going to be that helpful because a lot of what your opponents are going to be doing at this level isn't really streamlined. So you can't really see what your gold opponent is doing and say, all right, they're going for this and I can counter it this way. Sometimes you scout them and they're just playing their game and they're like, I don't know what to do. And they're just kind of confused. So by scouting them, you could confuse yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I know, like, a lot of lower league players read way too much into early gas, for example. Like, gold players don't know what they're doing with 3 gases.
So looking at your probe count, this is way above your level. You're probing super well. I would recommend whenever the base is like probably about this much progress, like 70%, you can just grab
and pull them over.
Yeah, 8 workers or maybe 12 workers and send them over to the 3rd base. Because you're doing a great job of making workers. Now it's about making sure their work is efficient.
Okay.
So let's give you some little time benchmarks for that. So you said
excellent.
2 is your warp prism hotkey. Okay, 5 minutes to 5:15, 3rd nexus. And that should be finishing up around 6 minutes or so. So look to transfer probes. And then I would also probably say at this point in the game, you're going to be wanting to focus more on chrono boosting whatever forces you're trying to put on the map. So if you're looking at the game state now, you have 57 workers. That's an amazing economy for this level of play. So what you would want to do is convert that kind of growth into army now, because you did a good job making probes. Now it's time to try and explode in supply.
Okay, I try to stop at about 66 probes, which, 3 base economy, I figure that's a pretty solid place for me to be. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is get to 66, and then I hold off. But should I pull back a little bit earlier?
No, 66 is good. But if we're looking at the difference in value between getting to 66 that fast as opposed to emphasizing army right now, there is some room for preference here. But the important thing with StarCraft is it's better to make the decisions quickly and decisively than to be indecisive and not choose either one. So you can chrono boost probes all the way to 66 and then do all of your chrono on army. That's fine and valid. Or you could mix it up a little bit, but the point is you should spend it. The chrono boost should be low on your Nexus.
All right. I am very weak at that for sure. I don't even... Like, right now I try to dump it into, like, upgrades if I think of it, an immortal if I think of it,
Yeah, the thing with it, too, is you shouldn't really be too concerned about always trying to do the most optimal thing. It is kind of a spammy game in a sense of, it's not like chess where you take a turn and the opponent takes a turn. By chrono boosting a structure, that's like a turn. You could think of it that way. Where right now, you have 4 turns worth of chrono boost on your natural nexus. So you could chrono boost 4 gateways, which creates an edge of a lot more production over time. You get 2 gateway cycles really fast, which means you're going to be shooting up to 200 supply faster than your opponent. So you've got that I can take more turns than you aspect of outperforming your opponent. If we want to round off your macro a little bit. The thing that I see missing is the forge.
Yes, it's way late.
Yeah, I would probably say you could likely time that with your robo. So you know
With
how
the robo. Oh, that's early. Okay.
yeah, when you drop the Twilight and the robo and the forge, I would think at this level you're not going to face anyone who knows how to punish you for that.
Okay.
As long as they have a second base. So we can say if the opponent has a second base, then you can get all three of those. Add forge when taking robo and Twilight. I think this build is pretty good. I wouldn't mind seeing 1 or 2 sentries just for the Guardian Shield. Like, you don't need to try and be parting with amazing force fields or whatever. But just having that Guardian Shield gives you tons of damage mitigation. So, you know what the shield does.
Absolutely. Yeah. Per range attack, and the Marines fire many shots, you know. And just newbie question, it'll the Guardian Shield hotkey will default with the group of units that I currently am using, correct?
Yes, it should be at the top of the stack. I think the only thing higher than it might be a High Templar and a Mothership.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But yeah, it'll always be ahead of Immortals, Adepts, Stalkers, Zealots, Archons. Those other basic units that mostly just A move, the Sentry will definitely be on top of those.
Okay. All right, cool. I mean, you just described every unit I play in the game, so...
Yeah. I think those are good units, too. People, they overemphasize the fancy units and end up, like, missing the point of the game, which is building more stuff.
I mean, that's definitely the style that I'm trying to get better at, is strong economy and just make more than you, and there we go, you know? But I know I mentioned to you in our conversations before, my APM is super low, so I never know how to, like, prioritize it when it gets real panicky.
Yeah. Well, the thing with APM is it's going to rise naturally as your game knowledge increases. A lot of people think of APM as, like, who is the faster person? That person who has faster reflexes has more APM. I think that's pretty false until you get to, like, a competitive level. That's when you're going to have certain people shine because maybe they are a little bit quicker of hand. But I've seen people get, like, top Masters League with 120 APM.
Okay.
So you can get really high up there if you're doing the things that make the most sense at the given time. I'm going to do a class on Saturday that talks about unit management. And just to give you a brief sense of it, there are like 5 sections of the class, and only one of them is micro. Micro is one aspect of managing an army, but one of the more important ones is formation. So look at your army here. You have Adepts, Zealots, and Stalkers. If you were to give me the order of who should be in the front to the back, what would the order be?
Zealot, Adept, Stalker.
Perfect. So that would be a really good step. That is it's only 3 actions to determine that. You get the Zealots, and you say Zealots go here. You get the Adepts go here. Stalkers go behind those. And then you can just A-move. And then your army is going to naturally kind of spill into the fray in a way that makes a lot of sense. So you don't have Zealots kind of in the back in a traffic jam trying to get to the front line.
Right.
You establish the order of your ranks first, and then you go in and attack. So from here, if you're looking at the strategy of the game, you've forced an incredibly defensive response out of the opponent. If I were to see this, I would say, all right, I'll race you to 200 supply. Because if they have 2 bases like this, there's no way they're going to be able to afford the same amount of production as you can once your 3rd is done. So I would just happily chrono boost away all my gateways and my robos and just make a ton of army. How much Archon do you make?
How many?
How often do you make Archons? Because I would say that would be a really good unit to focus on.
That should be that would be my go-to for sure. Like as soon as the Adept upgrade is done, as soon as Blaze is done, I really kind of want to be switching into Charge and Archons, but I always, I don't know, forget, or I'm slow, or I don't know, I just don't prioritize it enough, or maybe I get tacked and I forget, you know?
Yeah, I would probably recommend timing that with the probe transfer. So as your 2 base
To
economy
the
is
third?
done, yeah, when you transfer your probes to the third, your Twilight should be done, and you can drop your Templar archives.
Okay.
Because part of the ability to memorize a lot of these steps is by linking them with other steps in a chain.
Yes.
So rather than having like a bin full of stuff that you're supposed to remember, you make it into chunks where I do these 2 steps together, like your Robo and Twilight. You didn't forget
Right.
that because you knew those go together. So with this, you can say, when I transfer my probes to the third, I'll take my Templar archives, so I tech up and I gain value from my third base with a better unit.
Cool.
Yeah, so here, if we're looking at the composition, the Terran army is a little bit better of a kind of diverse and synergistic composition. And the Forge not being present is kind of lacking here.
Yes.
With the Forge upgrades, I would say it probably doesn't matter that much whether you go for armor or attack. But just taking something. Kind of similar to the, should you chrono boost workers or army? Yes. You should do something with it.
Okay, I understand. I normally, when I do take a Forge, which is embarrassingly bad this game, I usually drop 2. Should I ever drop a second, or just do the 1?
If you think
Or is that
about...
a yes also, you know?
Yeah, spending the money is good, but in most cases, a single Forge is going to be fine as long as you keep using it. It also gives you a really obvious target for chrono boost, like
Right.
throughout the early to mid game. And then one thing to talk about upgrades in general is an upgrade is valuable proportionate to how many units are actively benefiting from it.
Sure.
So say you're in a 2-base stage and you have 10 units and you're weighing, should I get 1 upgrade on those units or 2 upgrades? It's not really that good in either case. But if you're looking at a 200 supply army, having double upgrades can be really amazing, and you want to have great upgrades on those units because you have tons of them. So that's one of the things where, as your supply is scaling up, that's when upgrades are going to really shine. So by having 1 Forge, you can usually just get the +1 out of the way when you don't have that many units, and then as you're reaching 200 supply, your +2 should be finishing up. The +2 attack Protoss timing is super powerful. So if we want to talk about a power spike, a really strong Protoss power spike is when you get that 66 probe 3 base, and then you have Charge Lot Archon Immortal with +2 attack.
Sure.
With some detection. That's
No.
I don't care if they're Protoss, Zerg, or Terran, they're gonna get run over by that.
So what time should I be hitting with that? Like in-game time?
Probably about now.
Okay. With what supply?
Maybe 160 to 170. If I'm just giving you like a blind number for a good time to attack, 170 supply is usually the best time because that means you're moving fast toward 200, and if you have Charge Lot Archon Immortal, those are really high quality units. And it also allows you to take a fight and then warp in during the fight, so you're kind of trading out your front line and remaxing. That's the idea there, where you're saying, I rushed up in supply so fast that I'm now going to trade with some of your army, while making more army because I have 66 probes. I have the ability to keep making stuff.
Okay.
We could, if you wanted to, just go through this where we do the build, we practice the max out, so you know exactly what it looks like. Because a big problem with a lot of these games is you're always playing from a messy game state, where everything is kind of messed up, and there's a drop in my main, and my third was killed, and all that kind of stuff. So do you want to do that? Just do a custom, and I'll like dictate how to do the build?
Sure.
Okay. Well, GG, I think we got what we needed to from that. Okay, so 170 supply attack with +2 weapons, Charge Lot Archon Immortal. I have been run over this more times than I care to admit. Because a lot of times people will talk about, Neuro, how do I stop Marine tank timings? Or, Neuro, what do I do against Charge Slot Archon Immortal? It's just a well-rounded way to play the race. So if you died to that, that's basically a way of saying, Neuro, I fell behind and died. Okay. What would you like me to say? Okay, so pass me the party lead again. I think it's just left-clicking, or no, right-clicking me and then promote to leader. Okay, so for the purpose of continuity, let's just go to Dreamcatcher again. We don't need to learn a map, we just need to learn a build. Okay, and this should give us a pretty clear benchmark. And absolutely no rush. I'm going to give you a very easy AI. Wait, can I not do that? How do I do that? Add AI. Oh, I think I have to make myself referee first. There we go. Sweet. Very easy AI. So they might sneeze at you or fart in your general direction, but that's about it.
All right. I'll hold my breath.
Okay. Okay, so you know how to do the opening build. The only difference that we've talked about is chrono boost on your probes early, and then adding the forge when you take the robo and twilight.
Adding the forge when I take the robo and twilight.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I'll help you if you forget anything, so no worries.
Good luck, have fun.
Sweet. So you got your pylon, and then when that's done, you can chrono boost your probes.
Okay.
Gateway, chrono boost the probes. Perfect. And scout, nice. Your rally point is still set on the map. I think I fixed it. Nice. You know what you're doing.
I did miss the gas.
Okay, so you can take your Nexus now, I think.
Oop.
Nice. Now you could chrono boost probes again. And get your cyber core.
I usually actually, the way that it kind of times out is I shouldn't make another probe until the cyber goes down. Oh. But if I'm chronoing, will that make a difference?
It might. I don't know the specific build order that you referenced. I think you need another pylon.
I understand.
Pylon. Got him. Nice. Yeah, chrono.
Which now I'm definitely getting blocked.
Yeah, but who cares? We're practicing using chrono. So if it's low, I'm proud, and that's great. Okay. So you can make another pylon. Another nice little rule is to make a pylon at all times. Like there should always be one pylon in production.
Oh.
That's a good way to never be supply boxed. Okay, so your natural's done. Get ready to chrono and make probes.
Sure.
Chrono. Wow, look at that probe count go up. So you got your 2 gates. Okay.
Yeah, I need more energy.
Chrono the main. Wow. Just Probes
exciting.
for days.
For days.
Okay, pylon.
There's a lot of pylons.
Yeah, dude.
Oops.
Room for activities. Okay. So when does the Robo Twilight Forge go down?
Robo Twilight goes down, like, you know, now.
Okay. So we'll add the forge to that.
And then... Okay, forge. That's exciting.
Sweet. So fill the gas in the main. Get that chrono boost.
It's too much. I can't handle it.
Make a pylon. Someone's coughing.
Yes, someone is coughing.
Okay. Warp gate is done. The gates change.
Okay, so this would go here.
Yep. Plus
And I
one
would do
attack.
that normally.
Yep. Sweet.
Okay.
Take double gas at your natural. And take a third base. Wow. 5-minute third base, even earlier than that. Make an immortal.
Oh, it's a great idea. So generally I would do 2 observers at this point before an immortal.
Oh, you can do that if you want to, sure.
Well, I'm just, you know, just telling you.
Okay. Fill the gas. Yeah. So you're still making probes. You can make a cannon at your third if you wanted to. You can make a cannon in your main and your natural too. Might as well. Keep you safe against Mind Drop, Banshee. 1 cannon per base.
Okay.
So I put that in the notes. 5 minutes 30, 1 cannon per base. Okay, so your third base is getting about ready. You can change the rally point to the third base and pull 6 of your probes over there. Great.
Oops. I had way more than 6.
That's fine. Get the Templar archives now and get charge. Okay, chrono boost your forge and your robo. And chrono boost a gateway.
Or was a gateway?
Fuck it. Whatever. Make 2 sentries.
Ah.
Oh, you can get +2 weapons from the forge. Nice. Nice, nice. Okay, make 5 gateways and fill the gas at your third.
Okay.
This is a gateway explosion.
Yeah, normally it's definitely 4. At least I'm shooting 4.
Yeah, well, you have 63 probes already, and it's not even 7 minutes. So fill the gas. Chrono boost out another immortal. Chrono boost the forge. Chrono boost the twilight.
Oh my chrono.
Chrono boost the gateways. Just chrono boost until it doesn't work anymore. Okay, make 2 High Templar. Make an Archon.
Just 2? Oh.
There's a Marauder.
Locked.
Be careful. Make 10 pylons.
I got him.
Exactly 10.
pounds. Exactly. All right, it's very important. Here's my time. It's over there.
Okay, make all of your gateways into warp gates when they're done. Chrono boost an immortal. Chrono boost your forge.
I can't. There's not enough energy.
Good.
I didn't know that Artosis said that when there wasn't enough energy.
Fill the gas at your third, the left gas.
So I am not making probes anymore, yes?
Correct. Make as many zealots as you can. Make all your High Templar into Archons. All zealots. And take a 4th base. Take +2 weapons on the forge. And chrono boost it. And make an immortal and chrono boost it. You should change the rally point of the robo to be at your 3rd base. Just so they naturally wander over by the army.
It's a great idea. Have you played this before?
Yeah. A couple times. Get the sentries with your army. They're sleeping at the natural. We need the Guardian Shield.
Yeah.
Make Archons High Templar till you run out of gas, and then make Zealots at the 3rd.
Yep, that's okay. I got that one down.
Chrono boost all your gateways. Or as many as you can. Look at this 170 supply, go. Get everything. Get everything. You have 170 supply. It's 9 minutes. Okay. You have 1/1 upgrades. Chrono boost your forge as you move out. You got your 4th base. Build a pile on there. Okay, now the important micro part. You're going to select your army and then Guardian Shield. And then you're going to go in and win.
Are you sure I can beat him?
No, but we're going to try.
Alright, that seems fair to me.
Okay. Get the Guardian Shield. The bubble of safety. Guardian Shield.
I'm trying. Oh, actually,
Is the High Templar on top?
Yes.
Okay, then just click a sentry and Guardian Shield.
Alright.
Amazing. Perfect. Wow, double. Redundancy has been established. Move in so everything can shoot. You're trapped on the ramp. Just move up. Move up so everyone can participate. They all want to participate. Okay, attack move. Nice. Okay, make zealots and stuff at your 3rd. Amazing. Your main is mining out. Transfer from the main to the 4th. Just like all but 2 probes from the minerals. Look at that. Isn't that incredible how much you can possibly Protoss? Look at the army value graph. That's how you make stuff. So now you know.
So now you know.
Yeah. And you can save that replay if you want a kind of benchmark example.
A rough, yeah.
Like, you notice it wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better than what we were doing before. Okay, so let's just take a look at the other matchups too.
Okay, cool.
Isn't Chrono Boost fun?
It is.
You
yelled it a lot.
It's almost like
fun.
you can accomplish more stuff with Chrono Boost than without it.
That seems like cheating, though. Maybe I shouldn't use it that much. Like, it almost seems unfair.
At that moment, the Protoss player realized that he was very strong.
Protoss, good unit.
Yeah. Give me lobby host. Okay, so Chrono Boost. And then we're Chrono boosting gateways after 3 base saturation. And then we'll say it's like a 8-minute 4th base. Forge chrono boosted. I did give you a 5-minute 31 cannon per base timing as well.
Okay, yeah. I do kind of forget that also. Like, even when I'm floating thousands of minerals,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, cannons and shield patterns everywhere might be nice.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you would kind of describe as plus EV in the poker term, where it's not always going to pay off, but it's worth the 150 minerals per base just to make your life a lot easier for the various shenanigans.
Well, especially if I'm not spending my money well, what the hell else am I going to do?
Yeah. Well,
I guess I could build 12 more gateways.
You could throw your hands in the air and just scream. Oh no, they stole your gas. You don't even...
I was very offended.
You don't even use that with your build.
Nope.
At least not for a while. Okay. So we're imagining another chrono boost to the probes here.
Right. Yeah, spoiler alert, I'm not going to be doing that in these replays.
Yeah. Oh, you killed the probe.
Oh, man. I didn't even notice that. Winner.
1 kill. Okay.
That's all he needs.
Gateway cyber. Pylon. Opponent's going for 2 gates and a cyber. Oh. 4 gateways. Wow. Okay, so this is a 1 base play. So you see this with your probe. What do you think?
Okay, so generally what I think, I honestly don't remember how the replay goes, but generally what I think is, oh shit, don't die. That's phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2 is what everybody's like trademark response is, which is play safe, which clearly I do not know how to do. So I would cancel my expansion and just build more gateways and stalkers. That's what I'm currently doing when I see this happen.
Okay, so one thing that we can use to expand this thinking is, all right, the opponent has elected to make a 1 base play happen, 1 base of gateway units. So what if you had 1 base and a bit of gateway units, the same number of gateways, but say instead of having 20 probes like the opponent has, you have 26.
Okay.
Just a little bit more economy, and you could go 3 gate robo instead of going for 4 gateways. Because Immortals are kind of slow, but they're much better units than gateway units.
Oh, I mean, they're great for defense, generally speaking, right? I mean,
yeah.
If he's coming to me.
And another thing that I haven't seen you do, but is a really good defensive response, is the next pylon at the natural, and then you could put 2 shield batteries.
Okay.
So let's give you a defensive section.
All right, cool.
Scouting aggression. If you see the opponent prep for 1 base or 2 base timing, doesn't really matter. 2 shield battery at most exposed base. If opponent has, say, 1 base, defend with like 1.3 base econ. So that's on 2 bases, but there's a difference between the number of town hall structures and the number of bases of economy. So like 20 to 24 is 1 base economy. You have 2 nexus, but right now you still have 1 base economy. The opponent has 1 nexus, and they have 1 base economy. So your edge here is chrono boost.
I've heard of that.
You have the ability to chrono out units twice as much as the opponent. They have 1 nexus generating chrono. You have 2. So that's the mechanism you use to offset their aggressive choice. Your nexus is your biggest asset right now.
Okay.
But I think the robo, like, I would just drop the robo now. As soon as I saw this set of gateways, just drop the robo immediately, and then get the other gateways when you have the money.
Okay. Now, let me ask you another general question then. So if I scout this and I do see it's being super aggressive, regardless of race, should I still try to put the expansion down?
Yes.
Or is this like a play it by ear? Sometimes it'll be yes, sometimes it'll be no.
The only time I would say don't take the base is if they're actively proxying you, like here or here or something.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Like if there's a proxy hatch or a bunch of proxy barracks or proxy gateways, you might sacrifice the natural and then try to hold the high ground. But in cases where they have like gateways or barracks or whatever in their base, you can hold this position.
Okay.
So you get 2 shield batteries at your most exposed base, and your goal is to spend chrono into army, not into workers, once you see they're being aggressive. And then in versus Protoss, if it's ground, you want a critical mass of immortal. That's your win condition. Because if you have, say, 1 immortal and some gateway units, they can just focus that down, and then it's gateway against gateway, and they're good. But if you have, say, 3 immortals, their stalkers are just going to be like paper. They just get torn apart.
Okay.
It's really nasty how strong Immortals are. So the problem here is you don't really have a composition advantage on them. Adepts are okay, but they don't spend your money quite as fast. I like that you built that shield battery. You could even do 2 or 3. There isn't that much of a downside in making more, especially if you see them being super aggressive.
Alright. Yeah, so my key ingredient missing here is Chrono Immortals.
Yeah, you could Chrono Gateways, and I think you could potentially hold this. But, yeah, I think instead of going for 4 Gateways, you go 3-gate Robo, and Chrono the Immortals, and if you have Chrono left over, you can Chrono the Gates as well. And then adding a couple more shield batteries, and you defend this pretty well. I like that they're faking a Colossus. You can't afford a Colossus with this build, silly goose.
Even I knew that.
Yeah. Chrono the Gateways. GG. The first Immortal was born, but we were already dead. Crap. Okay. So, scouting aggression. So we got a ZVT, a ZVP, and then do you have a ZVZ?
I do. This guy crushed my face.
Okay, well.
He was really nice about it, though. He whispered to me afterwards. He was like, I'm Diamond on EU. The server's down. You did great, buddy. He was really nice, though.
Oh. A class act.
Yeah, he really was.
Okay. Lobby host. Lizard man. Zerg. Okay. Your opening build. Yes, okay, good. So you're putting the gateways down at the natural with this as opposed to in the main.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say that, but you already do that.
Sweet.
The pylon could be back a little bit. If you look at where it is right now,
It's super tight. I know.
I think it's blocking you from making another structure there. So I think if you had it 1 hex kind of back and left, that would be ideal. You could still power the gateway where it is. Or maybe even just 1 hex down from where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, walling off is surprisingly hard. There are even like players I face in High Masters and GM who mess up their wall as Protoss, so sometimes you will lose those games. If you want to just work on it, play a custom game or something, and just make sure your wall off is perfect, that's fine too.
Alright.
Because each of the maps has its own unique space there and choke and whatnot, so if you can get that really down pat, then that'll save you a lot of anger and frustration when 50 lings just run into your base.
Right, yeah. Which has happened.
Yep. Okay, so you've got the chrono that will be spent into probe production. Are you aware of the kind of relationship of Protoss doing a lot of 2-base all-ins to Zerg?
I would say no.
Well, that was one of the jokes that's kind of a classic one for Protoss versus Zerg, and that is, I even said this in my stream, the most rare unit from Protoss when they're playing against Zerg is the 45th probe. Because there are so many different ways to 2-base all-in against a Zerg, and the reason is because of chrono boosting probes. Protoss hits a power spike at 2-base. Zerg hits their power spike when their 3rd base gets saturated and injected. That's when they really shine, which hits a little bit later than the Protoss 2-base saturation. So a lot of times, Protoss will just chrono boost as fast as they can to get 2-base with these gases, and then they'll go for Archon Zealot Prism. That's the best way to do just big direct 2-base attacks right now against Zerg.
And you're just using the prism to warp in aggressively, right?
Yeah. So you're using warp gate technology to kind of circumnavigate defender's advantage of having to walk across the map, and then you're using chrono boost of probes to leverage your superior 2-base saturation over the Zerg. I think Zerg could physically drone 2 bases at a similar pace to Protoss, but their units aren't as high of quality, so it's not as desirable. Whereas you can make Archons or Mass Oracle or lots of different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like having the Adepts like this. Your wall up should be pretty safe even against a bust. Zerg is going double Evo. Triple Evo? Oh. Yeah, you actually just win here. This build that Zerg is going for is one that would lose to Archon Zealot Prism. I don't think it's necessary for you to like have to learn that build, but there is an awareness of Zerg especially being super greedy or doing stuff that maybe would die really easily to certain things, but they get away with because you're playing defensive. So if you are playing defensive, getting that 3rd base up really fast is the most important step. Because look at the game state right now. This maybe is a EU Diamond Smurf. You're ahead of them in workers. And you didn't even chrono boost as much as you could have. So if you chrono boosted more, you could have 54 probes right now instead of 46. And you could have your 3rd base at like 4 minutes to 4 minutes 30. So if this Zerg is being a silly goose and massing Lings instead of saturating 3 bases, you're going to beat them 200 supply, and you're going to have Charged Archon Immortal, and they're going to be toast.
Okay.
So a lot of it is about kind of recognizing your device for taking the 3rd, because Zerg can have some Lings forward on the map, and if you just send the probe, there might be a Ling there and it'll die. So what I would do is I look at these Adepts that are at your natural wall, and say the front 3 that were in the wall, those go and escort the probe, and those sit on the 3rd base. And
okay.
I guess you could take this one, but this is low ground. It doesn't really matter.
I think I do take that one first, yeah. I'm not good at that. I'm not knowing what base I should and should not.
At this level, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter that much. But I think the main principle of having the probe escort is one that would help a lot. So let me write that down so we don't forget. So I said 5 minutes to 5:15, 3rd Nexus with 2 to 3 Adept escort. And that's versus Zerg. Because when I play Zerg against Protoss, I have 10 Lings that are trying to snipe that probe. But 2 to 3 Adepts can beat 10 Lings.
Okay. I do always feel like that 3rd base is weak against Zerg. Like, harder to defend but just a little escort should help me out.
It kind of is. So this is the response that you have. Because if they do something silly like this is silly. 35 Lings just sitting on the ground. If they try to attack your 3rd and deny it, there is a certain number of Lings they could make where you're not going to take the 3rd base. And that can be really frustrating. But what you do is you say, okay, you want to overinvest in your larva in army to deny my 3rd Nexus. So instead of my 400 minerals for the Nexus, 100 for this pylon, and 100 for that pylon, just 600, I'm going to make gateways in my main instead. You won't let me go down there? Okay, so you're like a river that's being dammed up, where you make a lot more stuff on your 2 bases, and you drop your Templar Archives. You make tons of Zealots, tons of High Templar, Chrono Boost out Immortals, and then you do a huge 2-base push, because they're kind of penning up the waters, damming it up, and then you bust through and just kill them. Because that's what Protosses do to me. But yeah, the 3rd base generally, you're going to be able to defend it. The Adept should be kind of snug against the Nexus. You want to think about using the buildings as kind of your back against a wall, which means the Lings get less surface area against you.
Yeah, surround. Okay.
Yeah. Because that's the difference between dealing with Zerg Harass and Terran Harass is Terran Harass is ranged attack damage. With the Zergling and Baneling, it's melee. So you also want to be aware of how you can use buildings and map features to your advantage. But yeah, the same timing with the Templar Archive, so around 6 minutes.
And we're dropping that theoretically with the probe transfer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Which
Yeah.
is at approximately 70%.
Yep, 70% of the Nexus completion. It could be a little bit later. It doesn't need to be perfect. But yeah, with your fundamental of the probe production, I feel like your macro should spike up really fast now that we have a sense of when to expand and stuff. When to expand, what to tech into, and how to max out. Filling in more pieces to that puzzle. So now Zerg has 67 links, or 67 drones. And they have 3 base saturation, taking gases. It doesn't really matter that much what the Zerg goes for composition-wise. If they go for mutas,
Yeah.
generally it ends up being the most logical for you to base race. And the reason for that is you're not playing a Stargate style, and I think that's fine. So what you would do is, let's say you kill those queens and then some mutas fly over to the side toward your base. Your Archons are never going to catch mutas unless the mutas
So just go.
Yeah, unless the mutas fall asleep. So what you do is you attack in, and then you drop an assload of cannons at home. You see all those minerals you have? You make a ton of cannons so that they can't kill your stuff, and you're trying to kill their stuff with your really strong army.
All right.
Scouting aggression, dealing with mutas. Yeah, because with the muta switch, the Zerg doesn't have enough gas to be able to afford both a mutaflock and a really strong ground army. This Zerg opponent is going Hydra Bane, which is more of a ground focus thing. They don't have air right now. And then they're going for Hive Double Spire. Yeah, this is a pretty good player. Definitely not Gold League. But you did a good job. And I think with the new knowledge, you could beat them pretty handily. And I think they might not be quite as nice if they lost. A lot of people are like that. I call it the crow archetype of bad manner person, where it's a situational thing whether they're going to be BM or not.
Oh, sure, okay.
They'll act really nice, and they'll talk you up as being really good if they win.
Because they trust you. Yeah.
Yeah, but if they lose, they'll say, oh, Protoss is Borkin A move race, no skill involved, low APM, blah, blah, blah. It's easy to be respectful and nice when you feel good about things.
Sure, understandable.
One thing that you could time with your 4th base coming online, and this is kind of like a... I probably wouldn't recommend focusing on this straight away. It's probably best to really make that 170 supply timing the best. But a good transition, I think, for all 3 matchups would be you get your 170 supply. So we say post 170 supply timing. Your mining gas from 4th base. Drop 3 Stargates in main. When Stargates are done, add Fleet Beacon, Carrier, plus Mothership, plus Chrono, Air Attack on the Cyber Core. That's your air switch in the late game. That'll...
As I take a 4th, you're saying?
Once your 4th base is online and mining. Because
Copy.
right when you take the 4th base, like we did in that custom game where I was kind of guiding you through it, you're focused on attacking. But once the 4th base looks like this, with perfect saturation, that's when you have the extra money. Like right now, you have enough to drop 3 Stargates. And that's going to really allow you to make the highest quality units in the game and make something unbeatable. And then Carrier Storm with a Mothership and some Archons, that's maybe the best composition in the game. It's very good. Very good. And it doesn't matter what the opponent is going for. Carrier High Templar is just well-rounded. We're dead to the Hydra Bane. Their upgrades are really good. They've been really greedy. Yeah, GG. GG.
Cool.
Nice, so we have notes on hotkey setup, setting up the warp in hotkey, chrono boost. Chrono boost really is that like really key piece to wield that's going to allow you to create clear edges in the game.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And then we talked about the phases of you know what your target probe count is, and if there's aggression, you can just switch your chrono boost to more units coming out.
Okay.
Composition wise, 1 or 2 sentries for Guardian Shield, and we did learn from that High Templar takes priority. So you might make sure you don't have any extra High Templar.
Templar, yeah.
Okay, Charge Lot Archon Immortal. 1, 2. So Army is 1, Warp Prism is 2. You could put your Mothership on 3.
Okay.
And the mechanic for the Mothership is I set it to follow a slow unit or Archon in the army. So you don't really need to micro it a ton. It just gives everything the cloak. So you don't want it flying ahead of the army and dying to the enemy. You want it to keep providing that cloak and use its HP and stuff. Okay, and then 4 is bases. 5 you could put on an observer or something. I would say right now you don't need to worry about that too much. Okay, so we have the timing. Scouting aggression, dealing with mutas, and post 170 supply timing with the air switch. Cool. So I didn't check exactly what time we started.
I admit I did not either, but
I think that rounded off a good bit. Was there anything else you had any questions
no,
about?
that's great, man. I mean, I have a ton of stuff to work on, so
Cool.
I think that's great.
Cool. Well, really fun working with you. I enjoyed this
No,
session.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you taking me. I know I'm not your main race, so it was real cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, the fundamentals of the game become pretty clear and pretty similar. There are like those race-specific mechanics like Chrono Boost that are different from the 3, but the fundamentals of getting the economy and then maxing out are going to be pretty easy to identify. So yeah, it's a refreshing change for me to help out a Protoss. So I just emailed you the notes.
Excellent.
Let me know if you have any other questions, but good luck, have fun in your games, dude. Nice working with you.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Go get 'em. Sweet.